Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast powered by Cineman. I'm Ewan Gruff, and as always, I'm joined by Lachlan Teely.
Today, the Quiet on Set Star Wars correspondent Lachlan Teely, yes, that's me, is going to be covering the latest Star Wars movie news. That's right, this just in. Yes, excellent. Star Wars movies are coming back.
Wow, there's new movies from the Star Wars universe.
Whoa.
How exciting. Something even more exciting to me is that HBO sent me my first screeners ever. So I got to see the last 7 of 8 total episodes of the last season of Barry. I got some thoughts on that. I also watched the A24 Netflix series Beef and the claustrophobic thriller Inside starring Willem Dafoe.
I'm not doing it.
Do it, Lachlan.
I'm not doing it in the voice either. I'm not doing it.
Just do it. Just do it.
Very degrading.
You're fired if you're not doing it. Just consider this, okay?
Yahoo! Today we are covering the new Super Mario Bros. Movie. That's right. What do two slightly childish adults think of a movie that's definitely not marketed for them or made for them think of a child movie?
Banana!
Jesus. What an intro.
It's corrupted.
What an intro.
Yeah, let's get into the show. We are
Obviously,
professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes. Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there. Which actually,
Did you
this
get
is gonna
me a
be
hat
a
as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dooncam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
Welcome back, Lachlan. Today, we are taking a look at a really big movie, arguably maybe
Huge.
the biggest movie of 2023.
Breaking
maybe,
some records.
potentially. It is doing big numbers. We'll talk a bit more about that once we get into a full-on review for the film, which you can find by the Timecodes link below to everything we're going to talk about today. But first up, we do have some news to cover. Before we talk shop about all of the announcements that came out of Star Wars Celebration Day, there were a few new trailers. We already did a couple of trailer reactions on our Shorts channels if you want to check our full-on thoughts out for, I guess, Barbie and Indiana Jones 5. I think overall for both of those, we're quite positive on it, but out of Celebration Day from Star Wars, there was a trailer for Ahsoka. So I'm actually kind of most curious about that for you. Have you had a chance to watch the Ahsoka trailer?
I did. I watched it 2 hours after it released. Actually, no, I think it was like an hour after it released. I was struggling to fall asleep, so I threw on my TV and I was scrolling YouTube and I saw it there. And I'll do the voice. I'll do the sound that I made. Ready? I was like, and I
Okay.
I decided to flick it on and decided to watch it. With any Disney Plus show, you should, especially if it's Star Wars related, you should probably be concerned.
Mhm.
They haven't been the highest of qualities, especially with legacy characters. Obi-Wan was utter trash, and Mandalorian season 3 I haven't even been keeping up with. And Ewan, have you been watching Mandalorian season 3?
Yeah, and last week's episode was probably tomorrow. By the time this episode releases, we'll get a new one. But last week's episode was probably the worst one of the whole entire show. I really hated it. They had a bunch of like celebrity cameo appearances that were utterly trash. We'll talk about him a bit more later on, Jack Black. But Jack Black was in the latest episode of it. Him
wow.
and Lizzo.
Oh my god.
The musician Lizzo.
This is
it is so bad.
Has Mandalorian become just a cultural phenomenon where it's not really important about the show, but or who is in the show? Like, there are TV series in the past, like, I mean, Game of Thrones with Ed Sheeran is a great example where they are just in there because it's that, celebrity. It's not because they're good at acting or as an important character. They're just in there. So, like your cat in the background, that's a great example, Ewan.
Who asked?
For all of those listening at home, Ewan's cat was on his shelf.
No, the Mandalorian feels like it's like mandatory to have those, I guess, guest appearances. I just really hope that Ahsoka is not like Disney. Oh, I'll soak ya in a bunch of like references.
I think that there should be a little bit more care that's done with Ahsoka because she started off in Clone Wars as very disliked and became one of the biggest fan favorite characters ever because she had this incredible arc, and it kind of continues on. Hopefully within this show, there should be some care taken with characters who are legacy characters. Obviously, Ahsoka's not as much as Obi-Wan, but hopefully they learn from their mistakes because there are a lot of cool things in this trailer that got me psyched. There's a
Yeah.
lot of cool characters that were introduced in
Yeah,
Clone Wars
Thrawn,
that I'm
right?
super excited
Returning
about.
character.
Um,
I still have to catch up with Clone Wars. I think I'll do for that show, actually. I'm just looking for a reason to binge 7 seasons, and then there's Rebels. There's now the Bad Batch that just had the second season. There's a lot to catch up with in that universe. But after The Mandalorian, I'm like, okay, I just kind of want to quit Star Wars for a bit. So hopefully those shows are a bit more interesting to me.
yeah.
And then Indy 5, just quickly on that. I kind of had concerns with that first trailer because it looked really digital. I feel like this looks a bit better, but you still can see a lot of like bigger sequences, like the jumping out of a plane. I'm like, I don't need those like really high stakes for Indiana Jones, because you got so many talented people in front of the camera working that. But I guess it still is an action spectacle, and is also reportedly about 2 hours and 20 minutes. I think last week I said, like, yeah, no, it's just 2 hours. It's already added on another 20 minutes. So lots
Yeah.
of long films. We are really in an era of like films going into a longer runtime again.
Well, the Killers of a Flower Moon reportedly at 4 hours is a ridiculous
I mean, it's 3 hours 20,
runtime.
right? Yeah.
I read another report that said it was 4 hours.
We'll have to wait and see and just
Man,
check
if
clocks
we go
once
to
it
Cannes
watches, once
and
we're
there
in
is a
Cannes.
4-hour movie and there's no intermission, there's going to be some uproar. I'm causing another riot in France. This
Hey,
one way less
thematical
important.
call out. Yeah.
But funny thing is, how long did you say
Yeah.
the runtime was for the
220.
the new Indiana Jones? I'm just looking at
220.
the runtime of the other Indiana Jones movies. So Indiana Jones and the Dial of
Mhm.
Destiny is going to be the longest out of all of them.
Right.
We're looking at
Yeah.
227, 115, 118, and 122 minutes. 127, the longest being The Last Crusade. And funnily enough, Crystal Skull is sitting at a 65 Metacritic score. And Temple of Doom is lower.
Yeah, I don't know if adjusted for inflation it's still that, but it's also the one that I think has made like the closest to $1 billion with like $770 million. But I mean, the other ones were done quite a while ago.
Yeah.
So it's like same with like the Rocky. If you compare them to the Creed films, then like it looks like Creed 3 is doing the best, but then all of the first 4 Rocky films, if you adjust them for inflation, have still outgrossed Creed by like a couple hundred millions.
One other point I wanted to bring up. Did you see that poster?
Oh, I'm looking at it right now, and I mean, it aren't like some of the older Indiana Jones films also done in that like style, right?
Very similar style. Where it's like hand drawn.
Looks great.
It's one of the coolest posters I've seen in a while, and it is one
Yeah.
that I'd love to have hanging up in my room. It is actually a really nice poster.
Do you mind that it like fades into just like I guess eggshell? Why can't I say that word? Eggshell. Back still fucked it. Like background thing that like it just
No,
ends with
not
the color
really.
paint, or do you like that?
Because
'Cause, like, it's a
I've
sharp
got
edge and then
2
it, like, it
posters
fades.
in my room. It's a really cool design where it's like every individual frame of 2 of my favorite movies, and the
Mhm.
background is just white. I actually don't mind that because it would
Right.
kind of go with the style that I've got of the posters already, where it goes into just
Yeah.
an eggshell white
Eggshell. It's a hard
background.
word to say.
It's not that
Yeah.
difficult, but you made me say eggshell for a second there, and
Eggshell.
I blame you
Eggshell.
because you kept mumbling your words, Ewan.
I'm great with Microsoft. My Excel sheet is immaculate.
Jesus.
No, that's I mean,
Let's
then
keep
also hi
workshopping that one.
Bobby. Hi Ken. Yeah.
How good was that
Not
trailer?
cutting it out, but also it was an incredible trailer. I love
How
the
good?
opening. It was like, hey,
Love the
we
whole
saw
thing.
your feet in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. How about we get some more feet shots of Margot Robbie? But then like having the Barbie thing, right? With always
Where it
like that
stays
arched up
like that.
and just great energy. It's also giving off the vibe as like not showing us anything more than maybe the opening 10, 15 minutes of this movie. I would be
Yeah.
really surprised if we stay in Barbie world for like more than a fourth of the total runtime. Like such a great cast as well, and I'm keen. Looks amazing. All right, so the big news items this week is kind of tying into us talking about Ahsoka and Star Wars overall. There was a whole bunch of Star Wars news coming out of Celebration Day, so I'll go over, I guess, the biggest things. Um, I guess it was rumored that there are a couple of new Star Wars movies in the works, and we were kind of wondering, is it maybe a new trilogy? Is it three independently moving pictures? And I guess that is the answer. One of them does focus on the legacy character of Rey 15 years later. That's going to be directed by Sharim Obad Jinoy, a Oscar-winning director who has won 2 Oscars for some shorts that she did. And she's going to direct the one that stars Daisy Ridley again as Rey. And then she also has worked on Miss Marvel, by the way. And then we also have Dave Filoni, who's mainly been a producer on the whole, I guess, last 10 years of Star Wars series. Mainly, he's going to direct the culmination of the Mandoverse. We'll get into that in a bit, if that's actually promising or that's like who asked for this, I guess. And then James Mangold, probably the most exciting director out of this lineup with the films he's already done, is doing a film about the first Jedi set in the dawn of the Jedi era, which is a new era that's set before the Old Republic, and it's described as a biblical epic. So, Lachlan, out of those three small, short pitches for movies, which ones are you most excited for?
Mate, that last one fucking sounds so
Yeah,
good. It
it
sounds
sounds great, right?
so good, right? Anyone who
Mm-hmm.
like you had me at before the Old Republic and like the first
Mm-hmm.
Jedi, but when you described it as a biblical epic, man,
Yeah.
when I read that, I lost my mind. I was like just thinking anywhere it could go. I'm super excited to see them expanding the universe a little bit more. I wish they did it a little bit more and didn't go back to some characters. I do hope
Yeah.
Rey gets a second opportunity. She is a wicked
Yeah.
character who unfortunately fell to some pretty shitty writing. The directors we had
Mhm.
for the sequel trilogy, we had J.J. Abrams and we had Ryan
Ryan
Johnson,
Johnson.
which as much as
Mhm.
we like to shit on Ryan Johnson's whodunits, he is a good director. He can do some pretty
What do
good
you
stuff.
mean? I'm not shitting on them. They're pretty good. They're decent. Pretty good.
The whodunits?
Yeah, they're
We
fine.
we always make fun of him.
I mean, yeah, but just lightheartedly. We stay friends at the end of it.
Yeah. We
Uh,
like it for Daniel Craig,
yes.
primarily.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sorry, Ewan, I didn't
Uh,
realize you were a Ryan Johnson super
no,
fan.
I just
Sorry for
also watched
offending you here.
his
I know
latest
Luke was
series,
great.
Poker Face, actually on
Sure.
Peacock. Pretty solid series that
Mm.
he like made. Also,
But would you
Whodunits,
admit,
which
Ewan? Would
yeah,
you okay? Would you admit then this the
his
sequel trilogy of Star Wars
yeah,
came
he
down
fucked
to
it.
some pretty bad writing?
He did fuck it. J.J. Abrams also equally fucked it. They both fucked it,
So you're saying it's
but
a
lots of
directing
fucking must
thing,
have been done.
not a writing thing? Because I
Well,
think
J.J. also
directing
wrote
wise
them,
it's
right?
fine. Writing
Yeah,
wise
yeah,
it's
yeah,
bad. Now the directors would have gotten a writing credit, but they wouldn't have been the
yeah.
primary writers, would they?
I have no clue, and I also really don't care. Because, like,
All right.
I just want to move away from the Skywalkers and having someone, I guess. And what I found most interesting is that, like, the Rey one is going to be directed by someone who's not done any feature film work. And then, same with Dave Filoni, also been a producer only, I think, so far, doing that. Here with the Mandoverse, and he just got the most veteran filmmaker here with James Mangold, being great at adapting some, I guess, beaten off the path stories for franchises, like Logan, probably up there as like top 3 best comic book films like ever. So that's really exciting just for the talent. I'm sure the other ones are capable. It's just that the stories might be not as interesting. Like I think Ray is an interesting character. You can do more with her, but I was never interested in her after her story didn't really culminate to something really interesting. And then with the Mandoverse, I'm not sure if I want to see more of like a team up between, I guess, Ahsoka, the Mandalorian, Boba Fett. I just don't know if a movie is necessary for that, to be honest.
So yeah, for me, as I said, the first Jedi story sounds wicked. I have no interest
Yeah.
in the Mandoverse right now because they haven't given me a reason to jump in. Rey's second chance would be wicked, and I am excited to see Dave Filoni do a directing gig. That's a film because the majority of his work, other than the Clone Wars movie, has all been TV. He's done Clone Wars TV,
Right.
Mandalorian. He's done a couple of episodes of
Tales of the Jedi.
Tales of the Jedi, Book of Boba Fett, and also he did Avatar: The Last Airbender, a couple episodes of that. So there's a thing there. So I'd like to see what he does with the directing gig of a feature film. Hopefully he works off his chops and can just have some really good moments, or he could just flunk it.
Yeah.
But I think that he will do a great job.
It is, I guess, still what we were hoping for is something that's not as connected to the already established IP at Star Wars. And two of the three that they announced still are. So that's why I'm also the most excited for James Mangold's. Although it does seem, if you think about, hey, it's the first Jedi, it's like an origin story for the Jedis. I think doing that probably subverts some of the expectations you got.
Do you reckon James Mangold from the Dial of Destiny gig has sort of opened the doors for him? Because I feel like ever since Logan, he hasn't really done much. I feel like the getting the gig on Dial of Destiny has definitely become one of his now big big door, like kicking down the doorway to get into
I
the
think it was
industry.
also
Ford versus
I think it
Ferrari
was
as well, maybe.
also for the Ferrari having that like nominations left and right for a lot of that stuff. I think he's just been on the rise for a bit actually. Like just pretty much everywhere, everything he's touched recently is a big thing, and it's like one other news item is still on James Mangold. Before we get back to Star Wars, is that he's also doing a biopic about Bob Dylan with Timothy Chalamet set to star, and it was like the headline, "Ooh, he's about to do
Shocker.
his own singing." It's like, oh my god, so impressive! An actor who portrays someone who also maybe for the next like 3 years, similar with Austin Butler, I guess Timothy Chalamet will have a Bob Dylan face where he only sings. We'll have to wait and see. Really exciting stuff. We got like the series 2 announcements for both Andor and Tales of the Jedi. The Acolyte series is still in the works, and I think that was really exciting that the Kogonada, the After Yang director, as well as the director of Daredevil, are set to direct that show. And yeah, the Skeleton Crew is also coming, I think, in 2024. Andor season 2 is set to premiere in late summer of 2024, and then Tales of the Jedi. Not sure how long that's going to take, but at least we can say it is in the works. And finally, Taika's Star Wars film is kind of still happening, but they're like, oh, we don't want to interfere with him, so they'll maybe will happen at some point whenever he's free again. And not that he's like super busy after Guardians 3 now. I think he also still has like The Next Goal Wins, that movie that just kept getting pushed and pushed. I don't know if that movie's any good. They had that like trouble with recasting Army Hammer with Will Arnett, and maybe he'll have some freed up time to dedicate this to Star Wars. But I'm actually not too excited about a Taika Waititi Star Wars film, if I'm being too honest. If I'm being too honest, if I'm being honest here. That's all the Star Wars stuff. Like I don't know, do you have anything to add here? Overall, what's the vibe, good or bad, for these announcements of Star Wars?
I think it's good so far. I want more expansive universe stuff. I don't want this Skywalker stuff. Get out of this set of sort of time period. There's way cooler eras, and there's way cooler Star Wars stuff. Other Star Wars stuff, there's a new Star Wars game that's coming out later this month, and I am
Yes,
excited for that.
I need
Cannot
to play the
wait.
first one. I'll definitely be playing that as well. Once I play the first one. I don't know. I also got like still The Last of Us 2, to do Last of Us Part 2 to do. I want to play Ghost of Tsushima. But I just never get around to playing. So I'll have to wait and see if I get to it, but I'm really excited for that one as well. Looks amazing. And then finally, a FNAF, a Five Nights at Freddy's film, is announced from
Speaking of
Blumhouse,
video
coming
games,
this Halloween. Yes, speaking of video games, it's going to premiere on Peacock and in theaters. I don't know if it's day and date on October 27th, but I'm probably pretty likely that they make it as accessible as possible. That's that. A
that's
Blumhouse
a
movie
thing.
from FNAF. I've never played a FNAF game, so I don't know if that's. I know there's like dozens of them. So yeah, I don't know. The concept is pretty basic because like all of the games are incredibly basic. So I don't know, but I guess it
But they're
works
successfully
well as a
scary.
survival horror.
They're good at scares.
Yes. How do you translate that into a movie that's not just like blind jump scares?
Well, quite simply, you get Nicolas Cage.
They already did that one. That's
Yeah, I
called
know.
Willy's
I
Wonderland.
thought that's what they were doing. I thought that was the
Yeah.
adaptation, but guess
Yeah.
not.
They just premiered that one again.
Yeah,
And it's
they
just like someone else over. It's just an AI version, someone else's face of Nicolas Cage. Yeah, that's all the news of the week. So, Lachlan, let's get to what we've been watching. So, Lachlan, what have you been up to?
I have done nothing this week. I'll be honest with you, man. I haven't watched anything because I've been a busy boy editing and making something for us.
Yes. Yeah, maybe you already see this, but I don't know if we'll already be able to implement it here. But you might have noticed a change in the way that the show looks. But
We're
yeah,
trying to
I think
change
you
it
do
up.
have something to show to us. Yeah, don't I think you have something to show to us,
We're
right?
bringing back. Hang on, let me get my lighting ready. We're bringing back June Cam, but it's Bullet Train
Yes.
Cam.
Mm-hmm. And before you ask, the cable is mandatory. I made him put it there because there's like it looked really clean without it, and you can't not like it needs to be scuffed, otherwise the authenticity. It's like giving it's like the Disney Plus remake of Dune, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So it needs to have some scuffedness. I saw a quote from like David Lynch that like he'll never watch the Dune thing, and it just randomly popped on my timeline. I was like, who asks what reporters try to stir up stuff all the time? Like, what do you think about like this and that? That's loosely connected to something you've done like 40 years ago. Anyways, that's just my little rant about things. So you watch nothing.
What is David Lynch up to right now?
The weather.
Is he making? I
Daily.
know he's doing the weather, but is he making anything right now? Because
I
that
don't think
man
he is.
is
I don't know.
that man is getting on in his age, and I feel like he's surely gonna have something coming up. Unrecorded Night, director in production. Okay, there's a TV series in production apparently.
Right.
That's on
I think he's
IMDb.
pretty set with what he's done. I don't know if he has.
See, the
like,
thing is, he's currently
need to
got
do anything else.
98 previous directing credits, and he has one more, which means he'll be
Wow.
at 99. If he doesn't hit 100, come on.
failure.
To be fair,
Why
most
do
of
you
them
even
are
have to-
shorts. Most of them are very much short.
You could just count each of the daily weather things as like shorts, and he'd
Pretty much,
really be
yeah.
up there. I watched Barry. I caught the
did watch
last
Barry.
season of Barry. If you're wondering, hey, what's the best TV on at the moment? It's Barry. It's Barry. It's Barry. Barry is the best TV has to offer at this very moment. It's up there with Succession now that Better Call Saul has ended. It is unequivocally Barry. Maybe even peaks in this season. I haven't seen the finale yet. HBO only sent me the first 7 of 8 episodes, and it's just been as good as it has ever been. With it, I feel like it definitely moved away a bit more from a comedy to a bit more of a serious depiction of certain repercussions that come with, I guess, a hitman turned actor. But it is brilliant, the shifts and turns it takes, and the way that the writers consistently write themselves into a corner just to be challenged in a way that the twists that happen in Barry make no sense at all, but then they're also the most logical thing at the same time. It's just the best show on in TV. I think it's better at Succession right now, but I've only seen like the first 2 episodes of the last season of Succession. But they're gonna duke it out as for sure for me my favorite like TV season of this year. So yeah, I think in a week or two, this will kick off. We'll get to the first episode of season 4. Hoping some more people go check it out off of that recommendation of my really endless appraisal of that show. Then a couple of weeks ago, I talked about finishing Avatar: The Last Airbender, and then talked about maybe starting Korra as well. And I finished the first 2 seasons of it. There was the city arc and then the spirits arc. And yeah, Lachlan, what do you make of those like first two seasons? You said it gets better as it goes along?
First season is rough,
Or
but it does get better. It takes a little bit of time. You just
right.
got to push through. You're almost there.
I liked season one over season two, if I'm being honest.
Really?
Uh, yeah, I just thought it's kind of a pretty mid show with the ending stuff. I feel like they dedicate a lot of time the back and forth between pretty uninteresting things of like a storyline that gets continued continuously. There's not a lot of like filler episodes. There was some stuff like that in Avatar, but they were actually like usually really charming. Um, Here I'm not really feeling that as much because it feels like you had a younger audience with Avatar: The Last Airbender, and now it's trying to grab the same people who were into that now in their teenage years.
Mm.
So it feels a bit corporate in the approach at times. I also like just the look of the first one a bit over this, and yeah, I don't know. I just wasn't vibing with the spirits arc that much, but I'll definitely finish it. I might be done in the next 2 weeks. I mean, it's a pretty short binge. But yeah, not been blown away so far, and I feel like they butchered by the end, where like they have something that's big, and then it just like immediately, uh, no doesn't let you sulk in it for like a minute or two. It's immediately reversed.
Yeah.
So it, yeah, they do well with certain stakes being raised, but then they don't adhere to some of the what feels like to me logic that is set up. Speaking of, I guess one of the best cartoons ever with Avatar and one of the best seasons of TV ever, let's talk about Adam Sandler. Because weirdly enough, this week I just had a feeling that, like, hey, Adam Sandler has a bunch of Netflix flicks that are just up there. And I just went on one night, I watched like 3 Adam Sandler things. I saw like a random thing, a random like TikTok thing of a clip from Vacation, like a movie with Ed Helms that is horrible. And it was like, okay, let's watch a horrible film because it's on Netflix. And I was like, what other horrible things can I watch right now because I'm in the mood? And I watched Just Go With It, 51st Dates, and Click, and thought they were all kind of okay. It could have been so much worse. I feel like Adam Sandler still has a charm about himself. I all gave them like a 5 out of 10. Um, they were pretty passable. They weren't as horrible as I expected them to be. And yeah, it's not like I recommend them, but if you're in the mood to watch some like pretty shitty Adam Sandler movies, go watch them. They're entertaining, and I just want the complete disappearance of Rob Schneider. He's so annoying. He's always the worst thing about any Sandler film. But that's that. I watched Magnolia. Actually, I do have the ticket here. I went to a see this theater in Zurich. If you're ever in Zurich, go check out the Kino Scenics because it does a monthly program that showcases all the films. I saw this. This was the first film I've ever seen on film because we're just too young. We're two little baby boys who didn't grow up in a time where there were like film projectors around that much. Or maybe I've seen a couple of films like that when I was younger. Definitely, probably, but I can't remember. This is the first one where I can actually remember it. There's a lot of charm on seeing a film on 35 millimeter, and I watched PTA's Magnolia for the first time, and yeah, it's pretty great. I like it a lot. I don't know, Lachlan, have you seen Magnolia yet?
Haven't seen it in a while, but
Mm.
from memory, it was really. I watched it back in like 2017, so it has been a
Ah,
few years since I've watched it.
yep.
And it was like a binge of like a whole bunch of different movies, so they kind of blend into one. So,
Yeah.
but it's Tom Cruise's best.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's his best
It's
performance
great.
ever, hands
Yeah.
down. You can't
Mhm.
not look at it and go, what the fuck? Well, you kind of know what happens to Tom Cruise's
Mhm.
career, but if
Mhm.
he went this path versus the path he's on now, I mean, we wouldn't have Mission Impossibles and uh, we wouldn't have
Yeah.
Top Gun Mavericks, but we could have Best Actor Tom Cruise in like maybe 4 nominations
Maybe I wasn't completely sold on him because I feel like there is a
because it's
peak, a
Tom Cruise.
ceiling to him as a performer. Yeah, I just see him, and it's just it feels oddly fake in a sense.
Yep.
I don't know, but it works as a character because he also puts on a performance. And I feel like those layers really come across in Magnolia, where like you start off with something really silly and like unlikable characters, and by the end of it, even if they are like horribly flawed, you just see their hurt, their pain, and you feel for them.
Yep.
And yeah, the way it just culminates and comes together. I'm not loving every single part of it, and I feel like there's a lot of flaws and there's a lot of like explorations where it feels like it's going into deep directions, but it's actually just staying on the surface. But
Mhm.
I didn't mind that. I don't need something like really deep from each single character. But Magnolia is just a carefully, wonderfully crafted film, assembled together with like so many different characters at play that it works really well. So if you haven't seen Magnolia, really can shout that out. And then lots of things. These are actually new releases here. Willem Dafoe's Inside, the movie where he's stuck inside a rich guy's apartment that he wanted to rob. Uh, and then yeah, he descends into madness. And I mean, Willem Dafoe is great. The story is not really doing like that much, but if you want to see Willem Dafoe act his ass off for like an hour and a half, go check out Inside. And then Stephen Young and what's the name? Allison Wong, I think. Let me check that real quick. Ali Wong, not Allison. Star in Beef, capitalized. That's an A24 series that yeah is out on Netflix right now. It's an 8-part series where two people get into a road rage incident with each other and can't seem to not be involved in each other's lives because they are taking it upon themselves to hurt the other person as much as they can. And it's a bit ridiculous at times the places it goes, but it also, because it is A24, manages to not make that premise run out of its potential like early on. It somehow works. You get the same thing as Magnolia here, not on the same level, I'd say, but like two really, really deeply unlikable characters who are just assholes that you, I wouldn't say grow to care for, but you just kind of want to see them maybe get to a point where they're not as angry the whole time. It ends up in a really interesting place by the end of it. I'm not going to spoil it if you, here, of course, but where it maybe goes into a bit of a different direction as you'd expect for a show like this. So go give it a binge. It's not that long as well, with 30-minute episodes and just 8 of them. But that's all I've been watching. I've been a busy boy this week as well, just with watching stuff. And then let's get to our review, Lachlan, of Super Mario Bros. Movie. Let's go. I really wanted to do that. All right. He's giving me a massive side eye. All right, let's talk about it. While working underground to fix a water main, Brooklyn plumbers and brothers Mario and Luigi are transported down a mysterious pipe and wander into a magical new world. But when the brothers are separated, Mario embarks on an epic quest to find Luigi. So that's the Super Mario Bros. Movie from Illumination that has been received better by the audience than the critics. Who would have thought that a kids movie is doing better with general audiences?
Shocker.
There's been some drama around that. I don't know why. It's dumb. They don't need to be the same thing. Let's not get into that though, but it's currently sitting at a 3.5 on Letterboxd, really high for a movie like this. IMDb a 7.4, and then on Metacritic, those darn critics who don't like children's movies, with a 47, which I do have to agree is a bit low on this. I would kind of go higher to give that away already. Comes in at a runtime of 92 minutes and is directed by Michael Jelenic and Aaron Horvath. And like I said, is an Illumination production together with the distributor Universal, who's done all of the other films like the one that shall not be named from the 90s. So having had the biggest budget of Illumination's history so far, with arguably, it's not confirmed yet, probably over $100 million, it has grossed already that. It's projected to make like, I think, $360 million internationally or worldwide. No, not internationally, but worldwide in its opening weekend. So I think they'll be set for this. Let's get into it. We'll get into our spoiler thoughts in a bit, but just overall, for those of you on the verge of, hey, I've been burned out with Illumination, with all of those darn yellow Tic Tacs that go banana, and you want to just see if someone who goes like Yahoo is better than that. What would you tell those people?
Let's start off with the big elephant in the room about the critics. About the critics being super harsh about this film, because it's fair. There is a lot about this film that is not great from a critical standpoint. But it's a movie for kids.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the next Godfather.
Yeah.
Let's put that in consideration, yeah?
I mean, yes, I get that, but then like what's the role of a critic? Because you can still acclaim a good family film. I feel like you got Puss in Boots, which got universally great ratings. I think the audience, because somehow people go off the Rotten Tomato score, which is a shit way to determine anything because it's flawed and dumb and stupid. And the Metacritic thing is more of like a solid number where the critics are at. But I get it because it has a lot of like these similar struggles that a lot of like other empty family movies have. If you judge it by it needs to be stimulating for a child to watch and you can let them sit there for an hour and a half and they won't complain, then I guess a lot of Illumination does their job. I still feel like their movies are usually really dog shit though. And I feel like this is definitely a step up from that, but it still has the same issues where like it's not focused on it gives us references, but it doesn't go much deeper with the characters where like the jokes come from the characters themselves. It's more like just dumb Illumination kids humor.
Comedy.
And that's why like the critical stuff really makes sense to me, where it's like not just the most widely appealing thing that you can slap into a movie. I feel like from there I identify more on the critic side than on audiences, and even though like audiences also saying the same thing, it's a reference fest. It's like fan service the movie, and that's fine for some people, and others are like gonna have some struggles with it. But overall, I think I can we both agree on like that this movie is a lot of fun.
Yes, I was going to get to that eventually.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not letting you have any points here. I'm Mario.
Big Mario
Look,
fan.
I'm dressed in red.
You're a massive
red.
Mario nerd.
Red.
You the only game console you own
drink red.
is a Nintendo Switch, and you played Last of Us Part 1 on your Nintendo Switch. Nah, that's a Nintendo Switch controller. I don't believe you.
Yeah.
So look, as I said, the elephant in the room is that the critics are going to hate this film, and I understand why. Because the first 30 to 45 minutes of this film is so quickly rushed, and you are learning so much that it's quite overwhelming. And I felt that the film was going pretty quickly, and it does slow down in the final act. But they decided to go through this avenue of setting up the real world and then setting up the Mario world or the Mushroom Kingdom universe. They decided to set up their multiverse, which is fair because Mario Odyssey does the similar thing.
They even go like, "Hey, there's a lot of galaxies out there."
Galaxies, like, and they're like, "Oh, galaxies, potential.
Money,
everything the light touches." Anyway, so the thing is, I can completely understand why critics don't like this film, and you give the example of Puss in Boots, because the other great example of Puss in Boots is that the animation style is very cool. The story as well is really, really good at the same time. Not just from a surface level, but they do touch on some pretty dark stuff. And I think that's why critics like it. This movie does not do that.
Yeah.
But, once again, this is a kid's movie and it doesn't need that. So I keep saying this, it's just a kid's movie, because that's how I went into this film. I also went into this film as someone who has played Mario games in the past. And from
You've
all
played
of that,
Mario games?
Yes, I played. What a shocker, right? And
what?
The interesting thing for me was the amount of references there were, and that kept me entertained. Because I'll be honest with you, the story is pretty dog trash, but it was the fact that it was a nostalgia fest. And to be fair, there is one standout voice actor in this entire thing. Hint, hint, it's Chris Pratt. I'm fucking with you. It's not Chris Pratt. It's Jack Black. And Charlie
uh,
Day.
well,
I would
well,
also say Charlie Day was pretty
let's
good as well.
actually talk about the voice cast because that's not spoilers yet. We'll get into a full on spoiler thoughts, but no spoilers just yet. I think Chris Pratt wasn't bad. I think
He
he
wasn't
wasn't the
terrible.
worst in the
You
cast.
completely
I think
ignore it.
it was alright. I didn't really hear him the whole time he was speaking, to be honest. Uh not that like I disappeared and like he fucking
The depth
transported
of
me
the
into a
world
different
of
world
the
and didn't
yeah.
notice. I still noticed, but I thought that like Bowser, as long as I guess this is a slight spoiler here that he sings. I hated that. I thought that was
Are you
terrible.
kidding me? That was great.
I
Are
hated
you
it.
talking
It was
about the
so bad.
piano?
Yeah, I hated it.
Are
It
you
was horrible.
serious? That was
Yeah,
so good.
it's like I just heard Jack Black. The whole performance was great with Bowser. It was alright, pretty good. But then as soon as he sings, it's just Jack Black, and I don't want just Jack Black in it. Just be Bowser. Just be Bowser. Do a thing, not just like that's the other person who plays that, and he can sing. Let's do his nah.
But
I
the
like
thing is, you would have to say the
romance
same
thing.
thing to every other voice actor in this movie, though, because the rest of the voice actors aren't doing the characters; they're just doing themselves.
Anna Taylor-Joy was the worst one, to be honest. It was really bad.
They are
I don't
literally
know
all
what it was.
themselves.
It just
I'm shocked that you don't
really,
think Seth
really didn't
Rogen
fit
as
with me.
Donkey Kong was the worst.
He's next up there, and then I think as well as Cranky Kong, they were all horrible.
But here's the thing: I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care about it because I'm separating the games
I think
from the
that's
movie
not. Yeah,
the same way I've separated
right.
the games and and the TV adaptation of The Last of Us. I cannot consider
But
them the
that's
same.
different though. They
No,
don't
it's
really
not.
talk.
How is it different?
Because in The Last of Us, you got a one-to-one like voice casted experience here, and there you go. If you go like Donkey Kong, that's what's the reference there? They talk in this. It's way different. So obviously it's different.
But you have
It's just
other
like,
characters that talk. You have Mario that talks, and they still don't go down that path.
no, because it was just passable. It worked. I think Charlie Day also works great, although he's also considerably different of what you maybe would expect. Like someone, it's also just Charlie Day, but it fits better with the character. I feel like Seth Rogen just didn't fit with. It was just the Illumination thing of being too generic in the approach of like how to tackle these characters, and it came through from the voice cast as well. It just didn't work. But that, like, to me, that wasn't the most distracting thing about this film. I feel like the voice acting is totally passable
Because it's all bland. Nothing stands out. That's the thing. That's what we can get to.
Well, Jack Black stands out, I think, and also Toad, I think, works for me because I think they pitched up his voice.
It was the only voice actor that I couldn't hear their own voice in it.
Exactly.
And I don't know if they're pitching it up or if he was just doing a good voice.
He's really good at doing voices.
Yeah.
He and Pio are so great.
Yeah.
So I don't doubt it. I think, to me, he's the best voice performance in it, and then closely followed by Jack Black. He does pretty well. I didn't mind Kamek as well. I don't know who plays him. But yeah, like, not a spoiler. Do we want to get into spoilers? Let's just do the spoiler thing. Because the worst thing about this movie, bar none, is the soundtrack. That's the one that you can't excuse with, hey, it's a kids movie. So we need to hear I Need a Hero. We need to hear Thunderstruck. It's just like, no, was it Thunderstruck? I've watched a bunch of other Illumination films, so that might have been a different one. I think it was Thunderstruck in this. It's just no. What do you make of like the needle drops?
At first, I liked them because some of them were like,
you liked the
okay,
opening?
because they were cheesy and they were like, I got it. Some of them are completely, I'm going to say it, some of them are completely dumb. Take on Me.
Yeah, the Donkey Kong sequence,
What?
Take on Me, it ruined that moment. It's like, what are you doing?
Why is that song?
Yeah.
That's not the song that
Maybe
you'd use.
because they take me on the cart, so it's take on.
Makes
I don't
no
know. I just
sense.
had an aha moment. It's so dumb. It's so irritating that they got like so many like stingers that they use from the Mario soundtrack, and that's like each time that was my favorite type of reference where like
Yeah.
they go underneath in the underground and it goes dun. I was like, fuck yeah. I love that. That's like it's great. It's not
score
subtle
is
at
great.
all. It's just in there. The score is amazing. But then, yeah, I wasn't sure if you use that sort of stuff, is it also considered partly soundtrack? But I guess if you use it For
It's more of the
stingers, it's definitely
score.
the score.
Yeah.
So that's
So
I love the score. I hated
the
the
score
soundtrack.
is fine. There were moments where you can hear the what do you call them? The stings from the games that
Yeah.
are pitched up and pitched down and used in different ways. Like I think there's a part where he's like in slow mo and it's like a angelic vocal of the like
Mhm.
the uh power up sound or something like that. There's a lot of
Yeah.
single uses where that's great. And I think there are
Mhm.
great use cases of the soundtrack as well, but there are
Mhm.
definitely a lot more misuses of the needle drops in this.
Mhm.
I don't know why they had to make it so. But the thing is, this is the issue we have
It's the Illumination thing.
with not just Illumination, but with and as much
It
as I praise
well,
like shorter films, when you have a short film like this, and I say short because it's 90 minutes. When you
mhm.
have a film at this length and you are trying to set up so much, music can definitely give a feeling that would take a lot more time to show visually, and that's what they're doing here. Because the
Mhm.
original Take on Me song is like very do 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 do, like it's quite like
Yeah.
uh
Like this part of the
upbeat,
podcast, I would put the Black Eyed Peas "I Got a Feeling" because Lachlan has a feeling about this thing. So convey it.
and it
It needs to
conveys
be
it,
spelled
right?
out.
But the thing is,
Yeah.
they don't work
That's
sometimes in the moments that they're
no.
putting them in. Because there are other films that have used the particular songs. I guess that I Need a Hero is a great
It's like
example with the setup and
it's
the course.
overused. Yeah.
It's overused, but
Yeah.
you know what it's used for. It's like a training sequence, and that's exactly what this movie uses it in, and that's perfect, right? Sure, it's not perfect. It's
I
cliche,
hated the
but
moment, to
it's
be
it's
honest.
still a way of portraying a passing of time. You know, you're not just gonna have
Yeah.
grunts and sounds and stuff. You need to have like a soundtrack going to it. But the thing is, this film doesn't use that to a great degree, right? The Rocky
Yeah.
movies, we recently covered the Rocky movies. You know, the main theme is great when they're doing montages to because it's
Yeah.
been associated with success, right?
Mhm.
That's the Rocky theme. It's
Yeah.
successful. And you have him training to that song. And in the back of your mind, you know that even if they're showing him struggling, he is pushing himself. They try to do the same thing in this film, doesn't go to the same success. Well, Rocket's a
I think
terrible
what's
example.
bothering me about it so much is that you got such like I would put it up there with the you could use even from Donkey Kong Country, you could use some of the OST. You could use not Zelda in this, which is also up there as like some of the best soundtrack to games. And Mario is just iconic. Wouldn't be on the same level as some of the other scores, I would say, like compared to other stuff that Nintendo has done with Donkey Kong and Zelda. But it still is up there with a lot of like great stuff. And that they just use it as stingers was really disappointing because you could like really make a score out of it. And I think it would work in moments. You don't need someone singing, and then it's just too much of like it's just too much stimuli
But
for no substance.
but the thing is, it's a kids movie. They're going for stimuli over substance. And this is where they could have played it a bit
Yeah,
better, right? Because they're aiming it for
yeah,
kids, but they're going to get a large amount of people coming in who have played the games that are older, who want to see a film
yeah.
about like one of their favorite video games as a child, and they're going to go and watch it and they're going to be a little bit disappointed that it's childish. But you can't be disappointed because that's what they're going for. That's what's going to make them the money. Illumination knows that. They're not going to get mums coming in because minions can get mums coming in. They're going to get the dads coming in because they played Mario with their brother when they were younger or like things like that. They're going for a different
Yeah.
audience, right? They're going for a different audience.
I guess,
And
yeah.
not
I think
enough
we can
meme
move on
moments.
from the not enough meme
Not enough
moments.
meme moment. There wasn't enough. There was no moment in this film where I was like, yes, we can make this a meme. None.
Right. Not really, no. It was just banking on a lot. I guess to me, what was really odd was did they change the Donkey Kong design? Was
I
it
don't know. I
different
don't play
early
Donkey
on?
Kong games.
No. It definitely changed it from the game. But I felt earlier on it looked more like the games, and then I don't know what they did. It felt like they used Seth Rogen's like baggy eyes as inspiration for Donkey Kong, so it makes more sound. Like they made Donkey Kong look like a stoner for some reason. To me, it looked really off there.
Have we
It had me
got a
less
Donkey
excited
Kong
for.
gate? Like, are we got a Sonic the Hedgehog sort of Donkey Kong situation here? Ewan, are you calling that
Yeah,
out?
it looks horrible. I thought it looked better earlier on, but then I
Sure.
looked at the trailer, and then him in the background also has that like odd look. Um, I thought that was the worst looking part of the movie was Donkey Kong.
Wowzers.
I'm probably a bigger fan of Donkey Kong over Monkey Man, no, over
Monkey
Mario.
Man,
Um,
man,
I think
Jumpman.
like my favorite jump and run game ever, or the series at least, is the Donkey Kong Country series. I love the one on the Wii and then Tropical Freeze, incredible stuff. So to me, I'm quite fond of that character, so I was a bit let down what they did with him, but I think he has one of the best sequences in there when we enter the jungle kingdom, and I guess on the cart you just gotta ignore all of the aha take on me moment, but it's nice to like have that world. It's directly taken from a Mario Kart track that is in Mario Kart 7 called DK Jungle. The way that like you come into the thing, that the like the
Nintendo
kingdom
nerds,
thing.
right? Look at them.
I'm yeah.
You're so
I
nerding out right
like
now.
if you're a
How
real
many
Nintendo fan,
nerdgasms did
then
you
you
have in
can
the
say.
cinema?
To be honest, they were like immediately retracted as soon as like another soundtrack played. So I couldn't really enjoy it. It was a really up and down thing. But no, I love the introduction to the DK jungle, to that jungle kingdom. And I think he also has another really great sequence. Maybe let's I've talked so much shit on the movie. Let's have a few nerdgasm moments with like the best moments here. I think the opening to me works really well when they do that first 2D like Luigi and Mario running through the streets of Brooklyn. Works great. I like that a lot. Not the biggest fan of the whole family
Why are we
plot,
disagreeing
but
on so much? Because at the first you were like, I hate this, and I'm like, I don't mind it,
yeah.
But now you're like, I love this, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I didn't like that so much.
This is what you tune in for. We usually are like the most boring conversationalists because like basically each other agreeing on whatever is on screen. But here we are breaking with the Super Mario Bros. Movie. But no, you
I
didn't
didn't
like that
like
opening,
the 2D aspect. I mean, I get the point of it, but it wasn't 2D enough. For
right?
me, I thought they were kind of going halfway in. They weren't
Yeah.
fully sending it with the, I
Mhm.
guess, the homage they were trying to achieve. But hey, look,
Mhm.
each of their own. It's not the Mario universe yet. They eventually get to that sort of training scene, but then my issue was that the training scene
I did like the training scene. Yeah.
wasn't much like the game anyway. So
No,
I felt like
they
when
kept
it came to their
sliding. You don't
yeah,
slide.
you don't slide. When
No,
it
you
came
don't
to the
slide.
references, it was sort of like a half-baked reference. They weren't fully sending it and committing to the the reference they were trying to make. But
Mhm.
yeah, look, I just didn't like that one. What was another thing that you liked,
Right.
Ewan? And I'll see if we agree
I
on it.
like that other. I like that other jumping on sequence when it is with DK in like when they climb Bowser's castle. I think that one was pretty good.
Oh, the sort
That
of let's do it, and they run up and they get up to the castle at the end.
yeah, where they used the
I
sting
didn't
that they
mind
used
that.
in the trailer. Where like you remember the first trailer? It was like him and Donkey Kong, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Let's go, let's go," and like, and they used I think the "Let's go" line in this. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I
I think
like
that one
that. That
was
was a
pretty
good
good.
moment. The
Not like
combat fighting
them
was actually
at
kind of fun. Like when they were going
yeah,
up against little like goons and stuff.
yeah,
That was quite a fun sequence throughout the film. Doesn't matter
mhm,
who was fighting. I thought they were having a good time with it. Uh,
yeah.
and I enjoyed that when Mario and Luigi would run, they would flick their hands back.
Ooh,
So
yeah,
good.
yeah,
They
yeah,
were Naruto running
yeah.
the entire time.
Mhm,
Every time I saw that, I was like, "That's good." That's just a little detail
mhm.
that was nice.
I think in the sounds that it usually worked. I think they were emphasized upon. They were a bit louder than they would usually be mixed in an action movie like this. for it to be like, that you can pay attention to the little sounds that it makes that are similar to the game. And I appreciated that. That was fun. What did you make of the whole? No, to me, another favorite of my thing of me for me is like when they travel down the pipe, and it's like as long as we stay together. That scene was really bad. And but then when they separate, the way that the voices sound when he goes Mario, Luigi, it's exactly not a nerdgasm moment. It's exactly the same sound as being in the bubble in the new Super Mario 2D games on the Switch and on the Wii and the Wii U. The way that it sounds, and I have so many endless hours of memories of my friends playing that together. And you could also you could grief in that. You could pick each other up and throw them down, and you could voluntarily go into that bubble. So what I'm getting at is like for most of our playtime, usually someone was in that bubble and it made that sound each time, like you shook the thing. So to me, it was like that's a little reference. That's a really little touch in the film, and it's like goes a long way. It's like yes, nerd moment, and I loved it. So yeah.
You're a big Nintendo nerd.
Big old nerd.
Big
Probably
old
my
nerd.
favorite like game from the series is Mario Kart. Mario Kart 8 on
I
the
agree.
Wii U, not even the one on the Switch, the deluxe version. I like the base thing a bit more. But what did you make of that whole big sequence when they get on all of those carts? This big
The
old chase
cart
scene.
selection process was sick. I'll give
I
it
like
that.
that as well. Yeah.
That was actually quite
Mhm.
fun. Pick your cart. That was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Hey, who voices Donkey Kong's dad?
Cranky. It's that guy who's got like big lips, wide face. He's in a lot of like side performances. In SA was on SNL. I don't know his name, but he's a pretty famous comedic actor.
Fred Armisen. Yeah.
Brad.
Cool.
Yeah.
That makes sense because I was like, yeah, I'm having a bit of fun with him. The Mario Kart sequence was fun. I enjoyed it. Selecting the cart, that was exciting. I think the Mario
Mhm.
Kart sequence is probably one of the best sequences throughout the film.
Yeah.
Especially with
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
of the sort of comparing the real world, because I guess the real world that Mario and Luigi are from are very similar to us. So when you're making the comparison to be like, so are all turtles evil in your universe? And he's like, actually, no. We usually keep them as pets. It's kind of funny to
Yeah.
make that sort of reference, but
Mhm.
yeah, the whole Mario Kart section was enjoyable. But I can't believe
It
you
was
didn't
funny.
like the singing of Bowser, because I feel like the most underrated aspect of Bowser is how lonely that man is and how much he just all he
Yeah,
wants is
I
to
like that.
marry Peach, and I
Yeah,
love
I
that they
like the
made that the
motivation.
storyline.
I like the motivation. I like that he's just this ridiculous guy who's just in pursuit of I guess
Of
courting
love.
her. Really old school. But I just didn't like the Peaches singing. I thought it was just that to me was like the most let's make a ridiculous over the top scene. That's just humorous because you wouldn't expect it. I was like, I'm not a fan.
I feel like it's also as if Jack Black was in the recording studio and they were just like, "How about you just freestyle for a little bit, man?" That's what the
Yeah,
song felt like. I thought it was like a freestyle.
exactly. And
But
I
I
didn't
thought
like
that the
that.
singing part was just part of Bowser's characterization for the movie, because
Yeah.
I don't know if, like, Anya
Bit more
Taylor-Joy
theatrical, a bit over
plays a
the
bit more
top.
of a badass in most of her movies, but I don't know if Peach is,
Yeah.
because again, you're the Nintendo nerd. Correct me if
Mhm.
I'm wrong, but are there
You're wrong.
games where Peach isn't a badass? She's always just like the damsel in distress?
Yeah, no, there's a ton of games. I mean, she's in Smash Bros. And she's also a playable character in a lot of the more recent games as well. Not really in the early ones because it was just Mario and Luigi, and
Does
she
Smash
has the
Bros
thing of like
count?
I think not really. Even if you don't really count that because they didn't incorporate anything. I think it was loosely in the Donkey Kong sequence that they could have used and something from Smash, but they don't. Apart, I think it's one of the moves. I never play as Mario or Luigi in Smash Bros because they're trash. As like those two characters are trash. as fighters in there. I think they're going down with like what they do at the very end with the superstar. The way that their feet go down. I think that's like a move that the down move that they got in Smash Bros. But she's also just a playable character in the, I think, 3D world and some of the other Mario games where she can just like extend with her skirt. She can extend her floating time a bit more. So she's an active character in like a lot of the games, and
Okay.
she's not a damsel in distress. Like I like that Luigi is here, the damsel in distress. It makes a bit more sense for who he is as a person. Um, and yeah, the slight like Luigi's
Sorry I've
Mansion
offended you.
references are like the no. It's just like because it is obviously. I think we have to tread carefully there because like a lot of the response, I haven't seen any of that, but I've seen some people talk about. It's like they were outraged that like she's such a badass and so much better than Mario. Just I didn't see anything of that, so I don't know. I don't want to validate that in any sort of way. But yeah, she's a great character, playable character as well in all of the games. And a bit more than if you make the comparison from like Zelda to this, she's way more active than Zelda is in the Legend of Zelda game. I have so much more to get to. I think
Ewan.
on the I don't want to get to the Easter eggs yet because that's gonna full out nerd moment for me. I guess I'm already getting there a bit because the Toad that Keegan Michael Key plays is, I think, Captain Toad from that like games that they did a spin-off game from the Super Mario World. I played those. They were kind of puzzle games. I like that he's a bit more of a reference in himself. What else was there? No, that's all. I think that's pretty much all of my best moments. There was another like smaller one where they jumped on each other's carts in the Mario Kart sequence, and I was like, oh, that's like Double Dash. I was really like soy jacking the whole time, like, oh, oh, I know that reference. And I almost made something in Photoshop where it was like Leonardo DiCaprio meme of like pointing at the screen from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It was just like with an AI filter getting progressively older as you point along because it's so much. We have spoken about some of the best moments, and we talked shit about all of the sound, like the soundtrack moments that I specifically didn't like. Were there some other things that didn't really work for you?
I guess the
Yeah.
one character that I feel like they were being very edgy with was Luma,
Luma,
the little star.
yeah.
They were being they were trying to be edgy with Luma being such a cute little character, but is welcoming death with an open hand. It didn't work.
Didn't work
The
at all,
funny
yeah.
thing was, I was in a theater full of children and adults.
I was wondering
right?
that, yeah.
I was in a theater full of children and adults, and none of the Luma stuff landed with anybody. Like,
Yeah.
no kid found it funny, no adult found it funny, because there were definitely jokes that made adults laugh, and there were jokes that made kids laugh, and that's fair. Different jokes are going to land for different kinds of people, and there are different jokes that are kind of aimed at different people. But I don't know who the Luma stuff is aimed at, because I did not find any of that. I found the Luma to be the minion of the movie. Like, look at this very annoying character that can actually be kind of dark.
Yeah. I'm glad that there weren't really any other really dumb minion-like characters. I almost threw a fit when they start off the Illumination thing and it's one of the minions in the cart starting it up. I hated it because I have a deep detest for anything Despicable Me or Minions related. I hate it. So that got me riled up. I have such a, I think there's no other thing or film related stuff that annoys me as much as the Illumination, if I'm being honest. Maybe that's just like I'm flawed that way, but I really hate the studio.
You hate
But
fun.
No, that's so different. Illumination is not fun. Illumination is pain.
Fun.
It's pain. It's pain. No. They were, let's stay on the hating front because ultimately I think I arrive at as a positive. I arrive at a positive rating for this film. I can't even talk anymore. But like some attempts to make like somewhat of a character progression with like Mario doesn't like mushrooms. I need that he eats a mushroom, but get it, mushrooms make things in this. I hated it. Didn't like that moment with princesses in another castle. Flashback, baby Mario was like, to me, it was weird that they have always worn this outfit because they clearly established it at the start that it's like something ridiculous to do in their own world. They did it for the ad. They overplayed their Italian like accent and whatever, and then it's a flashback and it's just like baby Mario and baby Luigi. It's like, this makes no fucking sense. Had also Luma, Cranky Kong on that list, Donkey Kong design, Thunderstruck for the Mario Kart sequence, and then I think the Rainbow Road that they rode on was kind of mid. I like the sequence overall, but but they were just riding on like this really generic, just like something that you can whip up in 3 seconds in Photoshop type of thing that
So
stayed the same the whole time.
all I'm hearing is you, and you're giving it 2 stars.
No, I'm nerd raging. There's like it's dumb references. I also have like I have worst moments, which are also like the worst Easter eggs, but I also have like a whole section here that's just the best Easter eggs and references, stuff I appreciated. And we can get to that as well. I just thought that to me also they are still adding a bunch of new courses with DLC into the latest Mario Kart game, which is also indefinitely delayed the next Mario Kart game, which is a bit annoying. I also like the anti-gravity stuff, by the way, in that sequence. But they also announced like there's another 5 additional characters that are gonna appear in that. We don't have to get into that, but also a few more of like courses that are usually just redone from older ones, or they import ones from like that mobile game, which are really horrible courses that they add to the latest Mario Kart game. But what I'm getting at is like I feel like this might be a thing that they add into that DLC pack, that they add like a Rainbow Road from the movie. I was like, then it already got me mad if they like add that in. It's the most mid Rainbow Road you could ever think of. But we'll have to wait and see. But Lachlan, I do want to talk about some things that I appreciated that made my little nerd heart beat faster. And I don't know, maybe you got some of your own. Maybe you can tag along to these. But
No, I think you clearly like this film more than I did. So, by all means,
okay,
Ewan, you have
I'll
the
take it
floor.
away.
I'm gonna play
I'm not
Mario
taking too
Kart
much
on my
more time.
phone.
All right, have fun. I liked the little moment where Luigi's phone rings and it's the GameCube ringtone. Pauline on the TV, really the earliest character, I guess, in the earliest game where Mario appears as well, and she's been in Mario Odyssey. She's, I guess, on TV as the mayor, so that's going to be interesting if like they take some of the New Donk City Odyssey approach for potential sequels. There was a little rhino on the DK card, which like, oh, we didn't see a rhino yet, but that's from Donkey Kong Country. Oh my god, I'm such a fucking nerd, man. DK throwing a barrel at Mario was also like, ooh, threw me back to that game. I like the card selection, anti-gravity stuff, the double dash reference with the 2 people in one cart. I like the Bowser wedding suit, which is taken straight out of the final part of Mario Odyssey game. At the wedding, we got some characters in the background with the Hammer Koopas, the King Babam, and King Boo, all there. And I really like how they throw Bowser by the tail by the end of it to finish him off in that scene. And the way that DK and Mario fly in on that like riding thing that's also from Donkey Kong Country. You can kind of pin together that like a lot of the Donkey Kong references I adored, and I made the time to like write them down because I was like, yes, that's a thing from one of my favorite game series. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's a bunch of power-ups that appear in the movie. I also wrote them down. There's the mushroom, fire flower, mini shroom, cat Mario, ice flower, tanuki, and the star. So some variation there, and yeah, looking forward to seeing more from this franchise. Before we, I guess, talk about what we think will maybe happen in the future with this series, because it definitely will develop into a franchise, I assume. Was there like anything that stood out to you that, even though this is a kids movie, it's appealing to kids? that made you like laugh out loud? What was like the best joke that they had in the movie?
Sorry, let me pause the music because it's probably going to get us copyrighted. The best
Yeah.
joke in the film is the one that you've already written down.
Yeah, okay, you got okay, yeah.
I
We
thought that
got the
one was
same
probably the best one.
look, we can't agree on like the best jumping on sequences or if should Bowser sing or not, but we can agree that the moment where Bowser goes like Koopa Scoombas, whatever those things are, is the best moment in the like that's
Very
the
funny.
most easily to laugh at as well because like you get the reaction in the faces. It translates well. I like that. And I also found the rom-com subplot of Bowser really wanting to get Peach kind of funny. So that was pretty good. So Lachlan, in a sense, we have gotten this film for a lot of different reasons. I think one of them definitely being that Universal Studios is opening up a Mario themed theme park in the studio. It's been open
Mario
for I think
World.
a few years, exactly in Japan, and I think the one in I don't know Orlando, LA, wherever it is, probably just opened as well. Future projections off of the incredibly lucrative box office run that this movie will inevitably go on, will warrant a whole bunch of sequels. What do you want to see, and what do you expect to see from this franchise going forward?
I just want to see more expansive world stuff, and I feel like the next film won't have to do as much setup, which is good because
Hmm.
they should do a sequel because at its core, I enjoyed my time with this film, mainly
Yeah.
just due to a reference standpoint, and I didn't hate a lot of it. So for me, I want to see a sequel that doesn't have as much setup and kind of just gets into a cool story. And I'd love to see Bowser again. I'd like to see everyone return because with everyone being just so mid, there's no bad voice actors. It's all just okay.
Hmm.
So for me, I don't have anything specific. I know you'd love to see some sort of Donkey Kong crossover. Um,
I think it was rumored to maybe get its own movie, and how expansive they get with, I guess, the side of well, the amount of like different Donkey Kong characters that they show, that they make the effort to focus on. I can definitely see that be a possibility of where they would go next. As like you got a sequel, and then you also got a spin off. But I think there were also some talks of like, can they make this a whole Nintendo verse thing, or do they stay in the already connected verse of Donkey Kong and Mario mainly? Because otherwise, you do have the possibility with Smash Bros. I don't really see like it being that expensive, bringing in like different IP into this. But maybe this gives them the confidence to do something with the Legend of Zelda franchise. But I don't see that happening until we get like a maybe a third entry in this franchise, to be honest. Um, but story wise, we do get a tease. Again, we are still in spoilers. Have been for a while, if you haven't noticed. The post credit scenes, to be a bit underwhelming. I
yes,
guess you
the
loved it
post
because they were
credit
singing.
scene.
Yeah.
I didn't stay for the post credit scene.
Okay.
I left the
Did you
cinema
see it
straight
online
away.
somewhere? Oh, okay. Well, there's one scene where Bowser's singing as Tiny Bowser, which yes, he sings,
Cool,
I
cool.
guess. And then there's another moment down in the pipes back in the real world, which I don't know why. There's an egg. It's a egg that's white, and
Yoshi,
there's a green stripe on it, and it's Yoshi that breaks out of the eggshell, and that's found. I found it really underwhelming because you have to stay until the very end of the film, and then it's just basically that's Yoshi, the creature you saw early on in the movie as like a wild thing, and now it's like presented to us as like, look at this new thing that you didn't get in this movie. So I guess they're gonna focus on Yoshi in a potential sequel. I don't know if you needed to have like a tease to that. Feels a bit random. Potentially, I think to even go into like something like Super Mario Sunshine or Galaxy to give him like either a setting that's really interesting or a power up like in Sunshine would be kind of fun. But I think they wouldn't go beyond using that in like a sequence other than like not a whole movie. I think that would be too out there, and they don't want to stay like too close to the like the individual games, but more in a broader sense. But I'll be there. With like the rest of Illumination. I have to drag myself to go see them in the theater, if at all. For this, I'll definitely show up and go watch them. I think they are worthwhile, and I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5. So overall a positive rating. Lachlan, where did you end up with a rating for the film?
I gave the new Super Mario Bros.
Movie. It's also the
movie
movie is in the title. Yeah, I don't know why.
3D, based on the video game adaptation.
Also, it's one of the few, other than the Batman in recent years, who's got a 12-channel mixing.
Oh,
Who asked for
well,
this? I don't know, because it can only watch it in
great.
select IMAX theaters who also have the 12-channel thing to play that. So yeah.
Wowzers.
So that's a thing.
Probably not my
Wowzers for
cinema.
Bowsers.
Interesting.
Mine neither.
My rating,
Yes.
less interesting, 2.5.
So you were the actual hater all along. You
I
are
just didn't.
completely and 9.
It's fine. 2.5
You
is
align
okay.
with the critics so much
Two
more
and a
than I
half
did.
is okay. 2 is bad. I'm
Yeah.
doing letterbox scoring. 2.5 is fine.
I know. I'm just calling out that, like you said, this movie is for kids, and then you basically give it the critic score. You're 3 points off from the critics. You're the closest to that, but I get it. Ultimately, I think we can still critique it, but then it never does anything for a family film. It's a kids movie. It's fine. And I agree with that as well. So yeah. It's a messy conversation. I love that we have some spice in our conversation this time around, where we don't agree on everything, but maybe we can agree on a double feature for the Super Mario Bros. Film. I think I'm doing something controversial here.
Are you?
I think I am. Yeah.
I haven't even seen what you've picked because it's not in the show notes. Wowzers.
Because I haven't picked anything. I'm just picking it right now.
Oh, you're picking it right now because I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
I completely
Okay.
forgot to pick one. We're
Me
freestyle,
as
and this is
well.
live. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
live; it's edited eventually. But what shall we
Yeah.
pick?
I'm definitely not stalling.
Me either.
I think I'm going with Super Mario World. Yes, not a movie, a game. Go play a game. It's the one that has Yoshi and Mario in it. So you got the connection here with, I guess, that Easter egg and maybe potentially what's coming with the second one. So yeah, go give those games a try. Another one would be, I guess, Super Mario Bros. 3. Another great jump and run game.
Yep.
What about you, Lachlan?
Great recommendation, Ewan. Great recommendation here on the Quiet on Set podcast. I'm going to go down a different avenue, though. I'm not going to pick a video game. I'm not going to cop out. I am going to pick a double feature. Don't you worry, audience at home. I'm going to pick something that's very good as a selection because what does this movie have? Well, if you've seen it, there's a lot. There's 2 brothers, so there's 2 protagonists mainly. Mario is one of them, but there is a second protagonist, and they are like brothers because they are been together for a while. So I have to pick a movie where you've got 2 people, and there's torture, right? There's torture. Bowser tortures Luigi. That's another aspect of this film. So I have to pick something where there's torturing happening between, or at least to one of them, and one of them has to be a more established character, plumber, or better at the job than the other person. Right. So my pick as a double feature is another illuminating picture in black and white. It's The Lighthouse.
Yeah, there was a lack of farting and naked mermaids in this movie. But yeah, if you're concerned about your kids not being sophisticated enough after watching this Illumination kids movie, go watch the Lighthouse with them.
It's very illuminating.
This is sweet. It's very illuminating. Indeed. All right,
if that new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie has come out, I'd probably recommend that because that looks dope. But I'm picking The Lighthouse.
Does look quite interesting. Yes. What a unique pick here. So the new releases this week, mainly biggest film that I'm not getting yet, but in the States it is coming out. It's Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Hoult, the 2 Nicks out here playing Dracula. Dracula in Renfield. Keen for that one until when it hits theaters here as well, because we do like ourselves some Nicolas Cage. But that's pretty much the biggest thing that releases next week. But like I said, it's not coming out for me at least, so we won't be able to cover it just then. We'll keep you posted on what we actually end up talking about. I'm not entirely sure yet. But let us know what you thought of the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Are you a fan of the games? Have you played them? And are you watching it as well, even if you don't have kids? Is this something that people in their like 20s or 30s go out for? I'm kind of wondering that. I definitely want to get some thoughts on that in the comments below. And you can find more of our stuff all linked below in the description. A link tree will take you to anything and everything Quiet on Set. There's also the socials for myself and Lachlan. And yeah, with that, there's not much more to do. We are getting into our war pipes, getting ready to, I guess, go into a different world, which is not this digital one where we are recorded, but the one that is not recorded, our private worlds that. You know what really bothered me, Lachlan, is like they get into the pipes and then they go into the red pipe and then they come out of the green pipe and they go into the yellow pipe and then comes out of the red one. It's like, aren't they connected? Like, where does it change? Where does the color change for the pipes? Wouldn't it be the same colored pipe?
I'm glad that's what you were concerned about, Ewan.
Yeah.
Because what kind of world do we live in where
no
we
no
should
unison,
not be
no
concerned
order.
with that? Yeah.
No. We live in a pipe dream. All right, goodbye.
Jesus. Goodbye, everybody.